What's up, you guys? It's Levi here. Holy smokers, guys. December of 2019 is over. 2019 blew by so fast. And it's 2020 now, and we got another month down. December 2019 is down, which means that we got another month, and we got another wave of ransomware to talk about. So today I'm going to be talking about the top 3 ransomware cases in December of 2019. I'm going to be talking about what happened in those cases. I'm going to be talking about my opinion of those cases. And most importantly, I'm going to be talking about what can be learned from these situations so that you guys can help protect yourselves and your organizations from getting ransomware by learning from these videos. And if you do get ransomware, you can learn lessons from these ransomware cases to reduce the impact of the ransomware. Alright, so the very first ransomware incident that we'll be talking about in 2020 is from zdnet.com. It was posted on 1/3/2020. I'll post the link down below in the description if you guys want to check it out. Basically, it's about a company that's probably going to shut down for the ransomware. This company is a telemarketing company out of Arkansas. It has 300 employees, and it's called the Heritage Company, which sounds kind of weird to me that it's a telemarketing company. It sounds more like a bank, or it sounds like a genealogy company or something like that. Wouldn't you guys agree? Alright, so the incident actually happened in October of 2019. They were hit with ransomware on that date. There was only a 1-week recovery time projected from that ransomware. This video is being recorded on January 4th of 2020, and I still have seen nothing out there that suggests that this company has recovered from this ransomware. So you're talking a 2 to 3 month span of non-recovery when it was only supposed to take a week. So there's quite a bit of difference there, right? So what happened basically is a few days before Christmas, a CEO sent out a letter to the employees, and it was almost like getting a lump of coal from Santa Claus, if not worse. I would say it was probably like getting a whole freight train of coal dumped on yourself from Santa Claus. Basically, that letter from the CEO was announcing to the employees that the company was temporarily closing to be able to recover from the ransomware. Here's a good quote from that letter. Unfortunately, approximately 2 months ago, our Heritage servers were attacked by malicious software that basically held us hostage for ransom, and we were forced to pay the crooks to get the key just to get our systems back up and running. Since then, IT has been doing everything they can do to bring all of our systems back up, but they still have quite a long while to go. Also, since then, I have been doing my utmost best to keep our doors open, even going as far as paying your wages from my own money to keep us going until we can recoup what we lost due to the cyber attack. Alright, so you can see that the company is struggling majorly financially, and that's part of the reason why they had to shut down here. I mean, the CEO even had to take part of her own money to keep the company running. One of the key points is that employees were not aware of the ransomware. They weren't aware that anything was going on. They had no idea that the company would be getting shut down and they would potentially be out of a job if the company doesn't recover. They were told right before Christmas, which is kind of a crappy move, right? Because the company obviously knew about the ransomware for 2 months or before then. The companies were also told January 2nd to check back and call in and check on the status. So, of course, the companies checked back and they got a voice message that stated the recovery efforts were not a success and that they should be trying to look for other jobs. The employees were not very optimistic when they were asked about this situation. They think that the company is going to ultimately go under and they think that the company is just trying to stall to avoid litigation or figure out how to best handle their litigation before the employees take them to court. Because once they announce that they're going to go under, the employees are going to want to get a settlement. Alright, so what can be learned from this situation, and what are my opinions on this situation? Well, the first thing about this case, and the reason I specifically pointed this case out, even though it wasn't all in December, it started back in October, was this is an absolute worst case scenario. The company is likely going to be taken down. And that brings to the point, this is why investing in security is important. If an organization decides that it's too expensive to invest in security, this is what can happen to that organization. In this day and age, you have to be putting money into security, because if you don't, eventually you're going to get hit with something like ransomware that's going to take your organization down. And if you don't have the funding to be able to pay to recover from that, boom, your organization's going out of business, and you're going to be looking back thinking, I should have invested in security. So don't think of it as a cost. Think of it as a way to save your company's butt. This also brings up another point, that cybersecurity training and backups are a must. If there's only two things that you can invest in your organization, make sure that you have solid backups set up so that you can recover from those backups, and make sure that your employees are trained so that they don't do stupid stuff like click on phishing emails and things like that. That are the most common cause for your organization to get hit with ransomware. And then, of course, watching content like mine on a weekly basis will help you guys help protect yourselves from getting ransomware. And if you get ransomware, you'll be able to reduce how bad you get hit with ransomware down by learning cybersecurity concepts. Make sure, if you like this content, to go ahead and smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell, so that this content gets promoted up on YouTube to help other people like you prevent ransomware, reduce the risk of ransomware, and reduce the chance that they're going to get impacted by a terrible cybersecurity event. Alright, so another point to bring up is, in this case, it's obvious that you can pay the ransom and still not be able to recover after you pay the ransom. For those of you guys that have watched my previous videos in the past on ransomware, you guys know that I preach to you guys, never ever pay the ransom. And that's one of the reasons why, because you're not guaranteed to be able to recover from that ransomware. Also, you're promoting the ransomware to keep being spread, and the attackers to keep creating that ransomware, because if they're getting paid, they have incentive to keep making ransomware. So don't pay. Use that money for other things, other security things, to help improve your security. If paying your ransom is your only option, that is your own fault. You should have had backups set up so that you didn't have to pay the ransom. Finally, a lesson that can be learned in this situation is cybersecurity insurance would have helped this organization. So you might want to look into getting that. Had this organization had cybersecurity insurance, they would have been able to fund their recovery even after they paid the ransom. I think the biggest problem was they weren't able to pay for the outages and the labor to recover from that ransomware. I think they had the data there, they just didn't have the money needed to be able to do all the work to recover that data. Cybersecurity insurance might have helped them cover that gap so that they had funding to be able to do that. My only point on the cybersecurity insurance policy thing, though, is if you guys are going to look at getting that for yourself or your organization, make sure that you get written into that policy that paying the ransom is an absolute last resort if that's the only way you can recover, because insurance companies are going to try to use that as a first resort because it helps save them money. That's not the best option. It might help save money, it might help the company recover faster, but in the long run, it's going to hurt everyone as a whole because it's going to encourage the spread of ransomware to keep happening. So try to get that in your insurance policy that paying the ransom is a last resort. All right, so the number 2 incident is from bleepingcomputer.com. It was posted on December 6th of 2019. As always, I'll post a link down below in the description for you guys to check out. Basically, this impacted the Shakespeare Theatre of New Jersey. The ticket system was hit with ransomware on the first weekend of December in 2019. Basically, this was super bad timing because they had a show coming up that was supposed to be starting on December 4th. The information on that ticket system was inaccessible. They weren't able to access the customer data, who was supposed to be going to the show, who bought tickets inside of that ticket system, which is kind of a big deal because if you don't know who's going to the show or who has tickets for it, then the show can't really go on, right? You have to know where people are going to sit. You have to know whether people actually had a valid ticket to get into there because you need that money to be able to run those shows. The information was encrypted, so there wasn't any information exposed such as credit card info that the hacker could have gotten. But that information wasn't accessible by the theater. Because of this ransomware, the first show had to be canceled so that they could figure out an alternative ticketing system. They were able to eventually figure out that alternative, and customers that had bought tickets previously either had to bring in a copy of their old ticket or they had to bring in an email confirmation of them purchasing that old ticket, and they were able to get into the next show with that information. So fortunately in this situation, it only appears that one show was canceled, and the Shakespeare Theatre company stated the show must go on. I love that attitude. F the ransomware. We're gonna let the attackers win. We're going on. All right, so what are my thoughts and what can be learned from this situation? The first thing, and the reason that I brought this situation up to you guys, is any industry can be hit. I mean, seriously, who would have expected a theater organization to get hit? I myself would have never thought a theater organization would be impacted. I don't know exactly what this organization does, especially if they're not using a lot of technology inside of their production. You would just be like, man, how could they possibly get hit if they're not using a ton of technology? Well, guess what? They have a ticketing system that's electronic, and the ticketing system is one of the most important things for that event to go on, because if the organization isn't getting paid and can't keep track of where people are supposed to go, that organization can't function. They need money to be able to function. So it's one of the most critical pieces of that organization, and it just happened to get hit with ransomware, and it took down their show for a day, which who knows how much money the organization lost because of that. It could have been a lot. It seems like to me the organization probably just scrapped their old ticket system and just went to a new one. To me it seems like it would be a lot cheaper to do that than to try to recover from the old if they didn't have a backup in the first place, which they probably didn't. And then the final point that I want to drive into your guys' heads: prepare to be hit with an attack. Don't be naive. This is a perfect example of some place that you wouldn't think would get hit. It doesn't matter where you're at in the world or what type of organization you are, how big, how small. If you have a connection out to the World Wide Web, you can get hit, and you need to take the suggestions from my channel and other cybersecurity experts to help protect yourself before it's too late. Don't be naive. All right, so the third and final situation I'll be talking about is from zdnet.com. The article was posted on December 13th of 2019. I'll post the link down below in the description. Basically, the state of Louisiana is having more cybersecurity issues. I've already talked about some impacting the state last month. on my previous ransomware video, and then earlier on in July, I had one talking about some school districts getting hit in Louisiana. So Louisiana has something in their water down there. They just keep constantly getting hit with cybersecurity incidents. And the city of New Orleans is the one that's impacted this time. Basically at 11 a.m. on December 13th of 2019, some suspicious activity was detected at the city offices in New Orleans. And here's a quote from a city spokesperson. Out of abundance of caution, all employees were immediately alerted to power down the computers, unplug the devices, and disconnect from the city's Wi-Fi. The NOLA.gov website is also offline, being shut down with the rest of the city servers. So basically, the city went and shut down everything at their city office out of precaution. The computers there, all the devices, they unplugged them, disconnected them from the network, and shut down all their servers. As soon as the incident was detected, not only was the city hall impacted, the police department was taken down as well. Fortunately, they had backup communications, but they weren't able to look up historical records. So if you had a bunch of previous traffic violations and you're about ready to get your license taken away, and they catch you on a speed gun and pull you over, they might not have been able to look that up right away. You might have just gotten a ticket and you might have got away for free for now. But it's going to come back to haunt you eventually. But this can show that ransomware can sometimes be a good thing, right? Just kidding. Ransomware is never a good thing. Also, the big thing here is 911 was up, so people that needed to call in for an emergency were able to call in, so that's always a good thing. Alright, so then finally on December 19th, there was an update from a local station, KLFY, basically stating that the city has to update its cybersecurity insurance policy from $3 million to $10 million because this incident went a little bit over that $3 million. And so the city is going to have to pay some money out of pocket to be able to cover the cost of some of the recovery. The good thing is all of the data can be recovered without paying the ransom, so that's a good thing. But there are 4,000 computers that were impacted, and each and every single one of those computers has to be manually touched and manually restored. So it's going to take some time to restore all those systems back to a normal state. The city offices are open. There just may be some services down during the restoration of all the computer systems at the city. Alright, so what are my thoughts and what can be learned in this situation? Well, the first thing is they didn't pay the ransom, so that's really good. I'm super glad that they didn't have to pay the ransom, and most importantly, they won't lose anything and they're able to recover everything, despite the fact it's going to take some time and money to recover that stuff. They didn't lose anything and they didn't have to help the criminals out by paying that ransom, so that's good. There's one thing mentioned in here that we really haven't mentioned in any of the other ransomware videos that I've talked about. They had a cyber policy that was $3 million and it wasn't enough, so they're going to have to raise their insurance to $10 million. I don't think a cyber policy is a bad idea. The only issue that I have with cyber policies is a lot of them want you to pay the ransom because it's a cheaper option for them. I highly suggest, if you're going to get a cyber policy, that you make sure to try to include in that clause that a ransom will not be paid unless that's the only option and you've exhausted all of your other options. I don't know if insurance companies would do that, but I would definitely try to get them to do that. That would be the only negative thing, in my opinion, of a cybersecurity insurance policy. And then finally, the state of Louisiana has been getting hammered heavily. If you live in the state of Louisiana, I would suggest going to local government meetings and things like that and trying to push for cybersecurity funding to get increased. I'm assuming that it probably already is in certain areas because of all the areas that have been hit in Louisiana. But go ahead and make your impact known as well and spread your support for using your precious tax dollars to raise the cybersecurity funding for the state and the local organizations in Louisiana. Because the more things that get taken down with ransomware in Louisiana, the more you're going to end up paying as a taxpayer, and the more services that you're going to have down that cause inconvenience to you. Hopefully Louisiana can get that under control. Anyways, I hope you guys learned a lot from this content. If you have any questions or comments, make sure to leave them down below, and I'd be glad to answer them or get back to you on them. I thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this content, make sure to smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell to help promote this content up in the YouTube algorithm so that more people can see this content and help themselves prevent from getting ransomware or reducing their risk at getting ransomware and all these other terrible cybersecurity things that we talk about on this channel. Thank you for watching, guys, and have a great day.